Thank you for bearing with me while I pause because it normally just interrupts me. So the agenda for today, before I pass over to Matt Tudge, our head of skills planning, to start today's session, I'll quickly run through what you can expect from this morning's webinar. We have a packed agenda to run through in 1 hour. We'll start today with a presentation on the Department for Education and the LSIPs. So this would be our outputs, intent and guidance. Matt will run through the history of the Department for Education guidance for the LSIPs, what's changed and what's progressed throughout the project. And we're also going to look at what we're now expected to do in year 3 and what we're going to be doing here on out to meet our KPIs. Matt will then hand over to Hannah Ponsford, our research manager for the LSIPs, who'll be talking about our research. Hannah will be discussing what we found and covered in stage 1, stage 2, and what's coming up for year 3 of the LSIP, as well as what we still intend to do. Hannah will be discussing our progress reports that we are contracted to create by the Department for Education. I'm not sure if many of you are aware, but last week we were actually notified by the Department for Education that the deadline for submission and publication of our progress reports will be postponed from the end of June 2024. As we're now in the pre-election period, DfE are being very cautious regarding any material issued, and they need to ensure that anything published does not compete with the election campaign for public attention. With this in mind, DfE believes it would be inappropriate for the LSIP annual progress reports funded by the UK government to be published by the designated ERBs like us on the 30th of June. Following the general election, DfE will work with ministers to determine a suitable date for the publication and promotion of the reports, and they'll communicate this to us as soon as possible. Unfortunately, at this stage, we just haven't been given any further information nor any updated deadline. So just keep that in mind when Hannah's presenting her section. We're still a little bit in the dark as to when things are going to be published, but hopefully it won't be too long. So after that, Hannah will hand over to Lauren Yamandi Holmes, our business engagement lead, who'll be talking about our Swindon and Wiltshire LSIP roadmap of tangible actions. Lauren will be presenting on what our roadmap aims to achieve, the Local Skills Improvement Fund, our core roadmap of actions, and some examples of activities that have been taking place in the region. We're then going to have probably about 15 minutes to cover a Q&A with our panel members, which will consist of myself, Matt, Hannah, Lauren, and our skills advisor, Barry Tugwood. Some of you have kindly submitted some questions in advance, as I mentioned earlier, so we're going to go through those first, and then I'll open the floor to hands up for any questions you have for our panel, and I'll also check the chat for any questions submitted here. For those of you who missed the start of my housekeeping, this session is being recorded, so you are welcome to have your cameras on or off for if you want to ask a question or throughout the process, but this will be saved online as a resource for those in future to access. The Q&A is an opportunity for you to ask questions about our work and presentations today, but it's not an opportunity for elements to change or add to the LSIP. We, of course, welcome any comments or feedback on that. So if you would like to discuss our work or your work and suggested changes to the LSIP, we just recommend that instead you book a one-to-one with one of the team after today's session. This just allows us to dedicate enough time to all audience members' questions about the content today and updates on where we're going in the next kind of few months. Then we'll finish the Q&A, hopefully at 5 to 11, where I'll present a quick closing address and run through next steps before we end today's event at 11 a.m. So that is plenty from me, and I think it's now time I hand over to Matt.
Morning all. Sorry, a number of you have heard plenty from me recently as well, so I'll keep it reasonably brief, and I'm kind of just setting the scene, a little bit the overview and the history and the intent of the LSIP. For those of you who don't know me, I am the head of skills planning for Business West. Been here a fair few years working across growth support and needs. Next slide, please. So the starting point for the LSIPs way back in Jan 2021, which feels like a lifetime ago for me. Don't know about anyone else. The government released the Skills for Jobs white paper. This was their white paper helping shape how they intended to change the entirety of the future of the economy through skills, with much more focus on vocational and technical needs, and very much putting employers at the heart of the system, so that the training and provision available match the needs of the economy and the employers within it. It mentioned very specifically the German Chamber of Commerce system as a case study, where if you are enterprise or larger, you have a mandated role. You have to join your local chamber of commerce and you have to be involved in the skills system, which works really well. So in some ways, potentially the Skills for Jobs white paper is a bit of a stepping stone. How can we structurally integrate employers into needs for skills, but also how can they get involved in the delivery of skills, and how can they make sure it all aligns with their requirements going forwards? But teachers are aware of what the changes are. Industry experience goes directly to learners and everything works fluidly and smoothly as we would all like it to. Okay, so almost immediately following the white paper, it was announced that there would be some local skills improvement plan trailblazers. There were 8 of these running nationally, and Business West successfully bid to do one of these. At the time, it was aligned with what we called the functional economic market area of the West of England Plus, which was broadly speaking replicating the footprint of the aerospace cluster in the region. As a counterpoint to aerospace, we also looked at residential and domiciliary care, kind of as a high volume, lower perceived technical skills sector. So we could do a little bit of the high value, high technical skills and the high volume, lower technical skills side, and work out what the meaningful methodology was and how we could meaningfully integrate employer engagement in a useful way, so stakeholders and providers could look at what had come out and actually find value in the process. I'm just going to mention here, before I go a little bit further into the timeline, everything we have done, essentially everything we have ever produced, is available online. So you can go in and you can see 2021, 2022, 2023, and already 2024, all of the findings and the updates, lots of resources, answers to frequent questions, etc. So we really would recommend you look at the Business West website /LSIP. The Trailblazer was 1 year long, not an awful amount of time to put this all together, deliver it and learn from it. But immediately following, the national rollout of LSIP started. So stage 1 started in 2022. This was aligned to the LEP areas. So there were 38 of these running across England. Business West successfully secured 3 of these, Swindon and Wiltshire and the neighbouring areas of West of England and Gloucestershire. The first year very much used the methodology we'd developed, really current, granular and qualitative intelligence to supplement existing intelligence and add real meat on the bones for our understanding of what the region's employers need to know. We're now in stage 2 of LSIP delivery. So this is 2023 to 2025. We've still got something like 12 months of delivery left. And you may notice there's a large question mark under 2025. We don't necessarily know what form the LSIPs will be taking, but we do know it's written into primary and statutory legislation. We do know it is a mandatory requirement to be delivered by employer representative bodies. And we do know skills is top of the manifestos for all major parties. I'm not going to get political here, so personal, no way the views of Business West, but skills will be a high priority no matter what happens following the 4th of July. This is kind of our internal division. This is how we're kind of explaining the LSIP delivery. So the first year was very much focused on employer needs. What are employers' perceived unmet needs? How can we meaningfully gather intelligence to help all people in the wider skill system work with that intelligence? And then as we moved into the second year, it was very much an addition of actions. So these are the reported skills needs. These are the wider needs. What can we as a chamber and stakeholders in the system do to improve the situation, help employers engage more effectively? And then our third year description, we're still focused on needs and actions in response to needs, but we're looking much more at the impact of the LSIP and the changes in the region. So what is happening? What is the benefit to employers and how can we successfully measure it? And I'm not going to go into the 5 bullet points at the bottom because I think my colleagues probably have them reasonably well covered in upcoming sessions. Next slide, please. So Again, I think Lauren probably talks about this a little bit in a bit, but we've produced roadmaps. It outlines in a very simple table all of the things that employers have told us they need and all of the things we have worked with stakeholders and providers to translate those needs into actions. And so it's divided into these categories. So I really would recommend go in, have a look. There's a very good chance you're doing some of these things already, or there may be others that really resonate with you. So go have a look and get in touch, whether you're doing something or whether you think something is extra important, and we'll be able to work with you to respond. Next slide, please. This is a sneak peek of the original roadmap table that was produced. So you can just see it's fairly clear, it's fairly concise. In the latest report to come out, which Chloe has mentioned will be coming at some point in the future, TBC, it's a slightly changed division of the table, but everything in it says this is the area of need, this is the action we with you have identified we should be focused on, this is who's going to be delivering it or who is already working in it, and this is when we think it will be completed and what will happen. So keep an eye out. I'm sure we'll email all of you when the progress reports are released. And I think, and I could be wrong, this is where I hand over to Hannah.
Thank you, Matt. Good morning, everyone. As Chloe mentioned, my name is Hannah Ponsford. I am the research manager for the LSIP at Business West. I'm just going to give you a very top level overview of the methodology we've used so far, how this has evolved over the course of the LSIP to date, and how we're approaching year 3. So the focus of our methodology through the LSIP has been to speak to as many employers, partners and stakeholders in the region as possible. For each region, we have focus sectors, so we have prioritised these, but we also have some cross-cutting themes that filter into each sector within the region. We have been quantifying the data where possible, but our priority has been gaining qualitative data as we feel this helps develop a deeper understanding of the skills, needs and potential actions that can come from this. We have been supporting this data with quantification from secondary data sources as well. So in terms of primary data, we have conducted one-to-one interviews looking at sectors generally or looking at specific deep dive topics in relation to the focus sectors in the region. We have held focus groups, primarily online, but looking at the deep dive themes that we've determined from the main sectors in the region. We have conducted wider skills discussions with FE providers and businesses and other stakeholders in the region. And we've also conducted skills clinics. So we have our internal business skills advisors, one of whom is on the call today. They hold online and in-person skills clinics and report back any key themes or barriers businesses in the region are facing. We also support our own research with secondary data, from labour market intelligence analysis, collaborations with local authorities to ensure that we aren't duplicating any work, and we share any data that we've collated which is appropriate. And then we also use reports, published reports from trusted sources such as NOMIS. So for stage 1, the key sectors for focus in the region were decided in partnership with key stakeholders. So for Swindon and Wiltshire, they are automotive, transport, logistics and infrastructure, health and social care and life sciences, agriculture, agritech and land management, construction and advanced manufacturing and engineering. We looked at sectors that are of particular interest to the regions, such as the values that they add to the region and also the skills footprint within the region. We've also set cross-cutting themes that we look at for all regions, which cover general themes that impact all businesses regardless of size or sector. And these are technological change, looking at digitalisation, net zero, looking at sustainability and green skills, and then core and transferable skills, so looking at those soft skills. For stage 1, we spoke with 142 employers, partners and providers, which equated to approximately 228 hours of engagement. And this was through events, one-to-one interviews and wider skills discussions. The data collected through these engagements contributed to the sector-based priority findings we published, which, as Matt mentioned, you can find on the website now. Further education providers have a duty to respond to these findings through accountability statements, highlighting how they're working to align with these priorities. We've also published our progress report for the region, published in June of that year with a full analysis of our stage 1 activity. While compiling both of these sets of publications, we analysed the primary data collected, which suggested key themes and topics that required further exploration in stage 2. So in stage 2, we continue to look at the focus sectors for the region, but we focused on particular deep dive themes to refine our research. So you can see just a selection of the themes there. That's not an exhaustive list by any means, but for advanced manufacturing and engineering, we looked at CAD and data. Construction, we looked at retrofit and decarbonisation, as well as sustainable building techniques and modern methods of construction. With health and social care and life sciences, we looked at successful tech and digital adoption and digital computer statistical literacy. For automotive, transport, logistics and infrastructure, we looked at electrification, alternative fuels and infrastructure. And for agriculture, agritech and land management, we looked at digital farming and smart farm management. In stage 2, the first year of stage 2, which was 2023, we spoke with 111 employers, partners and providers, which equated to approximately 169 hours of engagement. So in addition to the one-to-one interviews, focus groups and wider skills discussions, we also held co-design events, which I'm sure many of you on the call attended. And we also brought in the skills clinics and meet the expert events. In March of this year, we published sector-based priority findings updates. These were not a deliverable on the project, but we felt it was important to share this data as our contractual outputs are published on an annual basis, and a lot can change in that time in the skills landscape, as I'm sure you're aware. We wanted to help further education providers with their accountability statements, but also for those who had engaged with us in this stage, we wanted to show them what we were doing with the information that they provided to us. The priority findings updates also prompted further conversations between partners and employers, so they could show us how they responded to the LSIP updates, which has fed into the progress report. The progress reports basically do what they say on the tin. They feature an analysis of the progress made towards actions outlined in stage 1 of the LSIP, as well as highlighting any additional actions from year 2 employer engagement. As both Chloe and Matt have mentioned, just to reiterate, due to the general election, the published date of these reports has been postponed. But when we are advised of the date that we can publish them, we will let you know as soon as possible. So year 3, or stage 2, year 2, we've realised that through years 1 and 2, we've gained a fairly good, though not exhaustive, understanding of employers' impressions of the regional and national skills system, what their needs are now and what they will be in the future, as well as any feedback and concerns they may have about the skills system. So year 3 is about moving towards putting this knowledge we've gained into action. We've already started to action some things, such as working closely with local authorities to put together relevant training, including things like boot camps, hosting skills clinics, helping businesses to understand their skills gaps and signpost potential solutions, and facilitating webinars to shed light on certain industries, myth busting, and showing the scope of the roles available in that sector. Our objectives for year 3 are to show the impact of the LSIP so far. We want to evidence all the great work that is being done by stakeholders, FE providers and the industry. We want to ensure all information we are gaining is accessible to all relevant parties, from the Department for Education right through to the one-man bands that we're representing. So we are ensuring the report content is available in various formats, including the reports that we've spoken about, but right through to infographics, and we're also creating video content. We have also got a resource page on the website where all reports, project outputs and testimonials can be accessed. We will continue to explore some deep dive topics where we still feel there is room for exploration or clarification through additional focus groups. In terms of outputs for year 3, we have the contractual output for the project, which is the next progress report, which will be due in spring 2025. Feels a bit weird talking about that now because we haven't actually published the progress report from year 2 yet. But yeah, you can expect year 3s in spring 25. We're also delivering other outputs which aren't contractual, but we feel that they're important for the project. So we're launching an impact dashboard in September of this year to show real-time updates and impact. This is going to be updated far more regularly than the annual reporting of our contractual obligations, and you'll be able to see kind of impact in real time. We are launching skills snapshots. So as I mentioned, to make the content accessible to everybody, these are going to be an overview of the project to date in a much more visual format, and those will be due in autumn of this year. Sector-specific sprints. So we already have some running now, and these will be running right up until the end of the year. And they're looking at specific topics such as green skills or EDI. And we're also continuing to collect testimonials and case studies, which will be published right up until March of next year. So these highlight the impact and progress of various stakeholders, and these are in written and video format as well. So if you haven't done a testimonial and you'd like to do one, please do get in touch. I'm now going to hand you over to Lauren, who will talk you through the roadmap.
Thanks, Hannah. That was quite quick because I forgot I didn't put my laptop on charge. My cable's in the other room, but it's all good now. Yes, I'm Lauren, the business engagement lead on the project, and I'll be sharing an update on the LSIP roadmap and its impact, as well as touching upon the Local Skills Improvement Fund. So through our activities and wider delivery, the LSIP will support and assist employers, partners and providers by understanding employees' needs through one-to-one discussions, focus groups, skills clinics and workshops, addressing systemic issues and needs and signposting to local provision and support, clear messaging based on evidence, peer recommendation and a one message, many voices methodology across several partners and stakeholders utilising collaborative action. This wheel diagram illustrates the impact of the LSIP, which comes from mapping, amplifying and simplifying existing provision and collaborating with relevant partners and providers to develop new responses where appropriate support doesn't yet exist. We are continuing to engage with local further education providers and stakeholders so that we can best signpost to businesses what is already being offered in the region. We also now have skills advisors who run clinics both online and in person, and soon workshops, to support and advise businesses with their workforce needs. The LSIP stands for the Local Skills Improvement Fund and is designed to enable further education providers across a geographic area to respond collectively to the priorities found in the LSIPs. So in short, our findings directly shape how this money is invested. The funding covers 2 financial years, so it was 23 to 24 and now 24 to 2025. The LSIP equates to 2.5 million into the region, and the lead is Wiltshire College and University Centre, working in collaboration with New College Swindon. Their priorities are in green automotive, sustainable construction, logistics and distribution, and creative digital. And if we can now move on to the next slide, I'll talk through some of the LSIP activities and what it will look like. So this is Lackham House, Eco House. It will involve a renovation of a 3-bedroom detached cottage situated within the Wiltshire College campus to meet energy efficiency standards aligned with net zero goals. Renovations will include external wall insulation, installation of an air source heat pump, solar panels and battery storage. All work will be conducted in consideration of the heritage significance of the Lackham estate. The project has been developed in collaboration with local employers, and once completed, it will serve as an accessible centre for individuals, students, building services and engineers, and employers to upskill in renewable technology. Some early internal strip-up work has already been undertaken in the house. The college is in early partnership with a large employer to utilise the space as a training facility for the installation of heat pumps in place of heating oil boilers. The project aims to be completed in August this year, ahead of the new academic year starting in September. This is Tech Trowbridge. The project will provide an advanced environment for the development and promotion of digital technology skills. The project will be split across 2 main areas, including the creation of a multi-purpose venue at the Trowbridge campus, capable of hosting theatre performances and esports competitions. It will have live broadcast and streaming capabilities, including a video wall display for interactive learning. There will also be a large flexible workspace across 2 floors, featuring collaborative and private state-of-the-art workstations, providing students and businesses access to the latest digital resources. It aims to promote the benefits of digital technology to businesses across Swindon and Wiltshire through ensuring digital skills are accessible and embracing advancing technologies. Specialist furniture and IT equipment have already been procured ahead of installation over the summer, including a large digital screen, the 10-person esports arena, and 70 high-specification gaming computers. We want to ensure that Swindon and Wiltshire region is fairly represented through our engagements, which means speaking with a variation of representatives from any size business within the region. This will involve engaging those that have interacted with us previously and continuing on the conversation throughout the development of the project, as well as outreach to new businesses. We have a number of roadmap actions as categorised on the slide, and if we can move on to the next slide, I'll provide some further detail. So we are running a number of sub-project sprints, such as inequality, diversity and inclusion, green skills and career pathways. This involves the mapping of current provision and collaborating with others within the region. We are aligning LSIP activities with and in support of existing region-wide programmes via the LSIP and the district councils, including the Careers Hub and supporting the skills bootcamps. We are signposting local skills provision and funding through our one-to-one engagements, which is open for new businesses and for current business relationships held. As already mentioned, our skills advisors are running clinics that provides one-to-one support in areas such as apprenticeships and the levy, workforce upskilling, internships, work experience and workplace culture and well-being. We are sharing blogs and our LSIP success stories. This is a series of video testimonials of how businesses have benefited from engaging with us, one of which we will soon be playing for you. We're also continuing to run our Meet the Expert events, which will cover common skills needs and gaps identified through our research. In terms of research, we are continuing to look into specific deep dive topics that we feel is important to gain further understanding about the needs faced through qualitative methods of engagement, such as in automotive, transport and logistics. We'll be producing skills snapshots to show here what we did in stage 1 and stage 2, and here's what we're doing to year 3, to be released hopefully this August. Our team at Business West are looking to take on a T-level placement in September, October this year. We released a short while ago updated progress reports for each sector and region. This is still available to read on our webpage. And finally, we will continue to engage with post-16 providers to understand what they are currently offering and will be offering, and we'll share our business intelligence so they can continue planning for the future. This is not an exhaustive list, but highlights some key areas of focus for us. And what we will play next is one of our LSIP success story videos with Darren Marks, who's actually with us today, the Managing Director at Swindon and Wiltshire Institute of Technology. They've been attending many of our events and working with local providers. So if we can move to the next slide and play the video.
Darren Marks, Swindon and Wiltshire Institute of Technology, and we are an opportunity to deliver higher technical education to bridge higher education gaps and skills development opportunities within the Swindon and Wiltshire region. We've had quite an extensive involvement in the LSIP so far, where we've engaged with plenty of meetings which have come to some benefit around engaging with opportunities to enhance our facilities, but also more importantly take on board what employers are going to need to bridge their skills gaps. We've been able to take the information, build curriculum around what they want, what they need, invest into facilities. If businesses and other organisations don't engage with LSIPs, including providers, we're not going to know the skills gap. We're not going to know what's actually required. We can take some labour market intelligence and look for job opportunities and prospects, but that doesn't necessarily meet the skills part of what's missing. If we don't take information, we can't blame anybody else other than ourselves. So we need everyone to come to the party, everyone to provide the information. If we have it, we can work with it. We can adapt current curriculum to meet needs moving forward. We can bring new courses in, we can bring new skills in, we can bring new equipment in to upskill and retrain and develop workforces as well. It's directly benefited our organisation by having an opportunity to work alongside and in collaboration with other providers. It's allowed us to work together to identify both a localised skills gap, but also a little bit more in the region. It's allowed us to really invest in some fantastic pieces of equipment and kit and actual physical buildings to reinvigorate them, to give the best opportunity for skills development. If we hadn't had the enhanced engagement from companies such as Business West driving these, we wouldn't have that intelligence. The biggest impact so far has been allowance to apply for bid for money. Without this, it really would make it such a challenge. We'd only be able to pick off a small percentage of activity. Whereas with this, we're allowed to focus on 3 specific lines of inquiry, really invest in those 3 actual activities with some real tangible outcomes, both from capital investment, resource investment, and also upskilling and CPD for our own teams, because as soon as they go into teaching, they're off the line of being up to date. So we need to keep them up to date to make sure that they can actually give out the skills that these employers need.
Excellent, thank you. And Darren, I hope you appreciated our very short notice today to let you know that your video was going to be included. So thank you very much. That was a fantastic case study.
Autographs available at the end.
Wonderful. Thanks, Darren. And thank you so much to Matt, Hannah and Lauren for your presentations. As I mentioned at the start, all slides will be shared post-event and the recording of this webinar will be live and accessible for all at a later date once we've just had everything cut and edited by our marketing team. So now for the most important part of the session, it's going to be your questions. So as I mentioned at the start today, we have had some questions submitted to us in advance via our registration webpage. So I'm going to kick off with those first, and then thereafter I will check the chat and see if anyone has their hands up. So if you do have any questions you'd like to type into the chat now, I'll get to them after I've just gone through these pre-submitted questions. So the first question today I'm going to hand to Matt. So Matt, what happens after the LSIP ends in 2025?
Really good question. I'd love to have a definitive answer. Let's be honest, I don't think many of us have definitive answers about what happens in 2025 at the moment. So I guess just kind of reiterating some of the stuff I said earlier and trying to follow the pre-election period rules. We do know that the principles of the LSIPs and the LSIPs themselves are written into primary and secondary legislation. We do know it is written in that it is employer representative bodies who are mandated to lead this. And we do know that it's, top of everyone's list: productivity, growth, wealth creation, efficiency, sovereignty, whatever you call it, skills is part of the solution. So it's not going away. However happens every presentation at the moment, the LSIP has changed a little bit since it started. It was very much focused on employers' skills needs right at the beginning. What can we as a Chamber of Commerce do to add meaningful intelligence for people to operate with? And it's become more focused on how can we as a Chamber of Commerce help the wider skills system? How can we help employers engage? Can we identify solutions to systemic needs? How can we help others work collaboratively to respond appropriately? So we know the LSIPs will be happening. We don't know what format they will take. We don't necessarily know what the focus in the widest possible skills system will be. So a short answer, not sure, but something. Long answer, everything I just said.
Well, thank you, Matt. And hopefully that answers the question of whoever submitted that one. So the next question submitted is, who is helping businesses work out what they need to know? And I think I'll hand this one to our skills advisor, Barry, please.
Well, thanks, Chloe. Morning, everybody. So yes, there's already lots of support for employers within the region already. Just with the Wiltshire Council's employment, education and skills teams and their programmes for Wiltshire, Building Bridges, Inspire Swindon. So lots going on there. Swindon and Wiltshire Careers Hub, growth hubs are there. various training providers, obviously Wiltshire and Swindon colleges and university centres, and the IoT. So there's a wealth of riches there in terms of opportunities for employers. The challenge therein lies the awareness. I think that's, we've mentioned that, and Darren mentioned that in his video, is actually making sure that we can try and make those referrals and get employers to the table, listening to them, actually providing them with what they want. From an LSIP perspective, we're offering those skills clinics, which has been mentioned several times within the region, with a skills advisor, and they are either face-to-face or now virtual as well as we move into this year further. And it's there so that we can talk to businesses, understand their skills needs, refer them into the local provider network and so on, and look to support their workforce going forwards and their development plans as much as we can going forwards. And they're going really well. You know, I think I've held 3 face-to-face skills clinics in Wiltshire, Corsham, Salisbury, Swindon, and various employers are coming along to it, and lots of things from leadership and management inquiries, from operational roles and sustainability, well-being, lots of different things. So, you know, I'm able to refer them into this local system and help them also with their plans and advice going forwards. I did put the link to the skills clinics in the chat, but Chloe beat me to it with higher skilled dexterity by a few seconds. So we've got it there twice in there, should you need to look at what we're up to. But yeah, I hope that kind of covers, you know, what employers can find and learners.
Brill. Thank you, Barry. I think, yeah, that's really good. But if anybody has any follow-up questions for Barry, you can get in touch with us after, or book in a skills clinic with him or our other skills advisor, Fiona. So the next question we have pre-submitted, and then I'll go through the last couple and then I'll go to the rest of the room, is I have an idea for something that will help the LSIP. What should I do and who should I talk to in the LSIP team? So if I handle this one, so we strongly believe the success of the LSIPs depends on collaboration and communication. And as such, we just absolutely encourage you to get in touch and discuss your ideas and suggestions with us if you think you do have something that can help. If this is something you think should be addressed in our roadmap, you can get in touch with the team on our LSIP at Business West email address. That will come up on a slide later today. And we'd be really happy to book in a call to chat further. But there's obviously a variety of other ways you can get in touch and have your input put into the LSIP. So you can join a skills clinic, as we've mentioned. Obviously, in those sessions, you can talk about your skills needs, but you can also talk about any ideas you think that could be added into the LSIP, and Barry and Fiona will be happy to take that on board. You can attend some of our upcoming workshops, events, focus groups. And if you're a business, you can sign up to our new one-to-one program, which is called our Signposting Local Provision, our SLP one-to-ones. And this is our Year 3 business engagement program, which acts as a consultation. We're calling it our triage process, but calling it internally because it does sound quite clinical, where our team of business engagement executives can help you get the information, leads and links you need to begin the process of addressing your skills needs. So in those sessions, if you have any ideas, please do feel free to kind of talk to our team about it, and they can pick that up and explore that further with you. So there's a variety of ways to get in touch with your ideas. If you're unsure with where to start or who to go to, just drop us an email after today and one of the team can help you. And then if you're on the call today, feel free to put in the chat as well, and I'm sure we can answer a bit later on. Hopefully that has answered that one. So the next question I have submitted is, what do employers feel is the best way to work effectively with your local college? And I'll hand that to Lauren, although I'm sure some others on the call today might have some thoughts later in the Q&A section on this one too.
Thanks, Chloe. I'd say there's been a number of different ways it's been mentioned to us in the engagement team through our discussions. It's worth first approaching your local college to say that you would like to work together, after which some businesses may attend school assemblies, to inspire young people regarding careers in STEM, or they've had a stand at a school's careers fair. We know that others are working with their local college through providing level 3 apprenticeships for students, or T-level placements, which combines classroom study and a 45-day in-industry placement. But there's quite a few different ways. There's not really a right or wrong answer either.
Amazing. Thanks, Lauren. And like I said, maybe in the Q&A section later, if any of the other colleges on the call wanted to speak up about that, we can come to you. I have one last pre-submitted question and then I'll go to the rest of the room. So I'm going to pass this one over to Hannah. So Hannah, why aren't you continuing your research in the last year of the LSIP? That sounds very directed to you. I think that was to the whole team.
Specifically me. No, so over years 1 and 2, we've gained is just shy of about 500 hours of engagement with employers, partners and providers in the region. So we've got a fairly good idea of how the region views the skills system and the skills needs they have. So we've seen that some of the actions are starting to happen from providers across the region, and we want to ensure that we are providing the necessary support to these providers, as well as amplifying the great work that they're already doing. As mentioned, we are still going to do some engagement, but it's just going to be a slightly different way through the SLP, the Meet the Expert events and the skills clinics. So we would still encourage employers to get in touch with us at any point to discuss the LSIPs. But the Department for Education's focus for this stage was to show the value that has been added to the region. And we think the best way to illustrate that is through action rather than doing additional research in a huge volume at this stage. So yeah, we're moving towards kind of a more of an action and impact approach rather than gaining any additional research.
Well, thanks, Hannah, and hopefully that answered that question as well. But obviously, if anybody does have follow-up questions from the questions that are pre-submitted, please do just get in touch, put in the chat or put your hand up, and I'm sure we can follow up on that too. So now to questions in the room. Darren has patiently had his hand up for ages. So Darren, I will go to you now.
Well, I should have put it down already after you said I could have first dibs. Yeah, so mine is about forward thinking. So we are aware that on the 5th of July, we may have a different looking government in many different ways or forms or options. Have we had any engagement through the LSIP pathways with any policymakers that are going to potentially outline how the LSIPs might feed into any changes of future government, or are we just sticking to a strict guideline of this is the map we've been provided, this is what we're following? Basically, is there any intelligence around that things might be slightly different and they might take slightly different tangents? And I'll throw in the words technical colleges of excellence.
I can see both Matt and Barry have unmuted. So I don't know if we want to go to Matt first, and then if Barry has anything to add after. And then obviously if anyone else in the panel wants to speak up as well, you can.
Just because of the timing of this and being on a Department for Education contract, I'm going to keep the answers short and sweet. But Darren, if you want another chat outside of this, happy to. So I can say that Business West are working through identified advisors, and we're also working with the British Chambers of Commerce to help shape some of the outcomes against some of the conversations we have been having. So if that's with Business West directly, it's very much based on the feedback we've had with the people we are working with in the regions we are working. And if it's with British Chambers, it's potentially a slightly more compelling case for ministers, but it will be based much more on the wider national feedback of where LSIPs are best achieving and how they could best be delivered. So we're doing an awful lot to hopefully help shape what we perceive the best value of LSIPs in the future is. And if you want any more specifics, let's have a chat outside of this call.
I think my sideline question is, and I think I would probably know the answer, is that upon the resignation of Minister Halford and Skills, obviously a constituent leader was elected to be the new Skills Minister. And I just wonder whether or not they had any engagement with LSIPs / Business West, bear in mind they are within their region.
Yeah, so this person is known to us. We have shared briefs attached to LSIPs delivered in the regions he would be most familiar with as well. And we've actually worked with the British Chambers, who held a Chambers and LSIPs joint briefing in London just a little while back. So yes, we're definitely influencing where we can influence and forming greater links. We've also got connections into other major political parties going forward, and we're doing what we can to share our vision of the future there.
Thank you.
Thanks, Matt, and thanks, Darren. Some really good questions there. We've had a question in the chat from Sally, and I'll pass this one straight to Barry, and it is, how are the skills advisors accessed?
Yeah, thanks, Sally. Yes, I saw that in the chat, and I was getting to type, and I thought, no, we'll come to it. We promote the skills clinics just about every way we can, through our partners, through the social medias, through our networks. There's a link in the chat there which you can see there, which gives people access to the face-to-face ones we've got planned. We try and keep sort of like to try and be fair across the 3 regions we're covering, and pop up all sorts of places. They've been received really well by the venues and the people that come along. And we've now moved within that league to virtual ones as well, so that we know we can't be on the road all the time. And there's an opportunity there for them to apply online. So through the websites and just about every promotion we can shake a stick at, really. But if you want any information or a chat with me, then happy to have a chat, Sally, afterwards.
Great, thank you, Barry, and thanks, Han, for putting the link in as well. So it's right at the top of the chat. Lovely. Any other questions? Does anyone want to raise their hand or come on off mute? This is the awkward bit where I talk over. There we go. Darren, you've got your hand up. Go for it.
I think it's more about possibly just even being a bit more open and transparent around what IoTs can offer and bring to LSIPs, where they are leading in other regions, and how we can support and guide wider intelligence into our network and regions, and also out. So more than happy to almost become I would say an associate member to anything that you want to do. Just to try and help. If you want questions raised at national level, then please do use us to try and push that forward. For the easy explanation is, I think most people will be aware of IoTs, but we're not actually a designated provider. We are actually a conglomerate, a group of providers work on behalf of qualifications and skills. So hopefully that will help people see that we can help and shift as well.
Brilliant. Thanks, Darren.
Just to add as well, if anyone on the call has not been down to the Institute of Technology and seen some of their facilities, it really is worth a visit.
It's brilliant. The equipment's fantastic as well. I very much enjoyed my virtual welding last time I was with Darren, so do recommend. Any other questions? We probably have time for one more, if anybody did have anything burning to ask or mention. Lovely. Well, if anybody does think of a question later after kind of reflecting on what you heard today, as I've mentioned before, please don't hesitate to get in touch, and we'd be really happy to kind of answer that. And we can also share the questions and answers with everyone in the follow-up emails as well, so everybody can kind of see what was asked and get that information as well. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining today's session and for your questions. We have run out of time, but yeah, if you have any questions, please follow up after. We're happy, any of the team here today or the rest of the team not on the call, be happy to talk to you and answer anything that you may have for us. Thank you to all of today's speakers and panel members. We do hope this webinar has been useful to you all as attendees. It's just been a current update of our status of work and our future intent. So fingers crossed you're more au fait with what we've got going on and what's coming up for the LSIP in the next year. So what's next for Swindon and Wiltshire LSIP, and how do you get involved? So there's a variety of ways you can continue to get involved with the LSIP. Oh, thank you, Jackie, that are on the screen now. So get in touch if you have any questions. A slide will come up after this one eventually with our contact details on again, so you can reach out to us if you don't have them already. Let us know if you have any activities in mind for year 3. We'd love to hear from you, and this project only works if we're collaborating and we're amplifying what's already happening in the region. So please do get in touch if you have any ideas or any activities that you'd like to be covered in the LSIP. When we've received updated feedback and timelines from the Department for Education, who knows when, hopefully soon, we'll be looking to publish our progress report. So keep your eyes peeled for this, and you can read the updates once it's ready. And then once you've read our progress report, that contains our roadmap of actions. Talk to us about assigning yourself some actions, or get in touch with us if you feel that you can contribute, or even if you've been assigned actions or you think you've been assigned actions based on reading it and you need some support with starting, get in touch, and we're really happy to kind of talk that through with you. Have a call, meet up in person. We're here to help. We also have the impact dashboard coming later this year, and that's going to highlight kind of all the wins and all of the success that's come out of the region's collaboration. So have a look out for that, and it will be released on our website, and I'm sure we'll update in our newsletter as well about that one. And then, of course, please do continue to encourage businesses to keep getting involved with the LSIP. They can join a skills clinic. We've got upcoming workshops, lots of events and focus groups, or they can sign up to the SLP, the Signposting Local Provision One-to-Ones, which is our Year 3 Business Engagement One-to-One programme. Our one-to-ones and event program will be released in a couple of months' time, hopefully sooner rather than later, but we're just working on that behind the scenes at the moment. So do keep an eye out on our Eventbrite and on our website for registration links. But once they're live, we will be announcing those in our newsletter. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, here are our contact details and our lovely faces of our large LSIP team now. We're going to be sharing these slides post-event, so you can have all of that there. So don't worry about scribbling it down quickly. You will get that after today. Next slide, please. I'm going to leave it on this one as we tie up today, but I just want to say thank you again for joining, and we hope to see you all very soon. Thanks all.